Welcome on drive, everyone, to Djuma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands of South Africa. As you can see, we've bumped into a nice big herd of eddies, and there's two little youngsters who are being quite boisterous. So we're just going to sit for them for a little while. They're actually on our boundary, and they are slowly mobile north across our boundary. So while we have them, we're going to sit with them for a while. I've got VM on camera with me. And we've got Steph, who's visiting us, also on the back, and then there's Scott and Romeo on the other vehicle, and of course Nikki's an FC. And for those of you who are new to Safari Live, we are actually live from South Africa by a few seconds of buffering over the internet. So to all our new viewers, welcome, and to all our old viewers, very nice to have you as always. Seems like I'm having an elephant day today. So what our plan is for the rest of the drivers, once we've finished with these ellies, we're gonna move across to. There was reports of a male leopard around Buffelshoek Dam late this morning, so we're gonna go have a look to see if we can find him again. And it looks like these guys have come from water quite recently. There's probably 20, maybe a few more elephants around us on both sides of the road. Oh, little ladies are just so sweet. So this looks very similar to that very large herd we saw a couple of weeks ago with Mark. There's a big cow up ahead who's got very distinct tusks, and I don't know if those of you watching remember, there were about 4 ellies of all sort of under 6 months in that group. Most of the elephants around us are grazing rather than browsing. They're taking advantage of the grass while it's here before the dry season sets in, when the majority of their food will change to browse. So while there is grass, the elephants will prefer to eat grass. We're getting a nice little show off to the right of him. Oh, stop now. So it looks like you can see how dark that little one is. It looks like he's been having a swim, and they probably have come from Buffelshoek Dam. Little boy will probably come lift his head, shake his head at us a little bit. Oh, not today. Definitely my favorite form of afternoon traffic jam. So quite often when you see groups, this many elephants in one group, they might not stay together. They might split into smaller family groups as they move through feeding. But it's quite likely that the matriarchs of those little family groups will be related either as sisters or cousins, but not always the case. So guys, I'm going to send you over to Scott quickly. He's also got some elephants, but they might be a little bit more active than ours. So we will hopefully catch up with you a bit later, and hopefully with a leopard. So over to Scotty.
Good afternoon, and from myself and Romeo, welcome on board. Well, between Brent and myself, we've got off to a great start this afternoon. Brent's also, I believe, been sharing an elephant sighting with you. There are two very small calves behind their mothers, in amongst their mothers' legs, that we can see. Excuse me, and they appear to be extremely playful. So, oh, and there's lots more elephants coming down to drink now, so this is going to be great. I'm actually just going to reposition the vehicle ever so slightly. And let's keep an eye on these youngsters. Awesome. They really are such wonderful animals, these elephants, and especially when they are so relaxed and tolerant of our presence. It's as if we're not even here. And you'll notice now, if you look closely, the adults are churning up this muddy pool with their feet as much as they can, and this is to try and create a thicker muddy solution which they can then throw over their bodies to initially cool themselves, which will be instantaneous, but then later, as the mud dries, it will become a protective layering that serves two functions. It actually encases current parasites on the body and suffocates them, and when an elephant goes and rubs up against a tree, those parasites will fall off. Another thing it does is it helps creates a protective layer rather, that prevents the new parasites from latching on very easily. Now, I've got a message from some of the viewers. Apparently there's a hyena somewhere behind us, behind a tall tree. We are looking for it, but can't seem to see it at the moment. But thanks very much for that update. And now you'll notice more elephants are arriving, and this is turning into an incredibly beautiful sighting. look at that youngster lying down in the mud now, really getting itself covered in all this cool, refreshing mud. And incredible how trusting it is of the rest of the herd members, which could quite easily step on it. But they are such thoughtful and caring animals, these, especially for their own kind. Beautiful. There's a Hlampe and Love and quite a few in Nyari at Vuyatela Dam. And interesting how their major concern was initially rather to cool themselves than to drink. So interesting to note that, and we'll probably find that after they have finished their mud bathing, they will then go off and drink from the main section of the dam, which will be less muddy. So they're specifically using this small pool, as we can see right now, to churn up the mud, which would obviously not be great for drinking, and they'll go off and drink in the main section of the dam, which we can already see that large female leading them all the way doing. She's almost using a trunk to try and look for the cleanest water as she walks through, and look at this, absolutely beautiful. Now you can see a lot of them trying to delicately sip the cleanest, freshest water right off the top. Look at how precise they are with that trunk of theirs. Incredible. And you can imagine the cleanest water is right on the surface, with all the dirtier water with more sediment being below that. So interesting to see how they are quite fussy. And I think Jason is doing an absolutely wonderful job on camera. Not easy to film when there's so many animals and so much going on.
Thank you.
But I think Jason's doing a great job in showing you as much as possible. I can hear Monkey's alarm calling. I'm just trying to listen closely to where it's coming from. Jason, where do you think it's coming from? It's probably harder for you with all the headphones on.
No sensors.
But you can hear them.
I can definitely hear them.
Nicky, do you mind poking your head out of FC and seeing if you can see if there's any monkeys alarm calling next to you? Sounds like it's coming from in and around the camp area. an area that we know Karula, who is a female leopard, is not scared to move about. The tricky thing with monkeys with alarm calling is that they can see animals very far away, and even if they may be situated in one area, they could be alarming at something quite a distance off. Anyway, it sounds like it's quite close to the final control room, so Nikki's just going to poke her head out of the office and see if she can see these monkeys. What a beautiful scene this is, and the sunlight is certainly adding to this. There was a little bit of cloud cover earlier, so fortunate that the sun is shining and it's making for an incredible shot here. Copy, that's what we're looking for, but I think there's two different troops alarming. I think there's also some below the dam wall here. Thank you very much, though. We are just going to go for a quick drive because it will be useful to look at this bull elephant. They are cheeky sometimes, just bullying his buffalo out the way. We are going to come back to this, but we do have to make the most of this alarm calling because they won't continue to alarm call forever. And let's go and see if we can find what it is that they are alarming at. We are going to look for this hyena on the way out because I'm interested to see where it's hiding. Increase the alarm, and they certainly are helping, but the troop down below the dam wall I feel is the one that can see the danger. Their alarm calls are more intense and more numerous than the troop up around the lodge. Okay, Jason, eyes peeled. Stations and monkeys alarm calling above and below the rear to the dam. I'll be following up here. Now what we're going to try and do is hopefully see the monkeys, and they often perch themselves on top of trees when they are alarm calling. And if we're lucky enough to see them, then hopefully we'll be able to see the direction they're looking in and then get an idea of where this potential threat could be coming from. Well folks, while myself and Jason snoop around here for any sign of this leopard, we're going to cut back to Brent and see what he's been up to for the last while.
Welcome back, guys. You can see we're at Buffalo's Hook Dam, and we have an odd stare-off between the crocodile and one of the buffalo bulls. It was quite strange because we saw the crocodile tracks have come from quite far. We'll have a look what was there now, but at the moment the buffalo's not so sure. I think he's a bit big for the croc. It'll be interesting to see if the buffalo decides to chase him or not. This is one of the reasons I really do like the dry season. In quite a lot of cases it puts situations that you wouldn't really see during the wet season in place. The crocodile's not a threat to the buffalo at the moment. It's amazing the distance crocodiles can actually cover between water points. And there's certain parts in Africa where crocodiles have survived after the water's dried up for about 8 to 9 years without any water, but going into sort of a form of hibernation and living in caves for 6 months of the year, and then during the rainy season coming out into the pans, and then as soon as it dries up again, going back into this little rocky hills and into the caves again. I think the furthest I've found a crocodile between water points was probably about 14 kilometers from the closest permanent water, and just walking down the road. Good afternoon, Genevieve from New York. Genevieve would like to know if an animal is bitten by a crocodile but escapes with a non-threatening wound, would it die later from the bacteria in the crocodile's mouth? That's always a possibility. It could be from the crocodile's mouth, it could be from flies, it could be from lots of other things, but any open wound to an animal out here is a potential life-threatening threat. But to say it was specifically from the bacteria in the crocodile's mouth would be a bit difficult to know for sure, but it is possible. Just look at the heron there in front of me quickly.
What is it?
The heron.
Oh, the heron.
Yeah. So we'll come back to the croc and the buffalo shortly, but see, there's a heron that looks like it's walking on water there, right in the middle of the dam, and probably one of the deepest parts of the dam. And you'll see shortly what's going on, hopefully. It's a good fishing spot for the heron. As you can see, it's sitting on the back of a hippo, using him as a good fishing spot. And the hippo doesn't seem to mind at all. Guys, we just have a quick look where we saw those crocodile tracks and see where he was coming from. So the buffalo is actually directly between him and the water, or her actually, and the water at the moment. Good afternoon, Chantal from Canada. Chantal would like to know whether there's a chance that this crocodile would attack the big buffalo. It's unlikely. it would probably try and move away from the buffalo. It's more likely the buffalo would attack the crocodile. So you can see there's, oh look, the croc's moving right past the buffalo. Oh. So the buffalo seems to know that the croc's not really a threat to it, but even though it is a predator, and as you've seen, like a leopard's not a threat to an elephant, but they'll always chase the leopard. So as we saw there, very little actually happened when the crocodile moved towards the buffalo. He moved off. It looked like he might actually sort of hook at the crocodile, but he didn't. Afternoon, Laura. Laura would like to know if something did come from these two being together, who would be in more danger? The crocodile or the buffalo? I'd say most definitely the crocodile in this situation. And the buffalo managed to get a horn underneath and hook and throw it. Probably do some very big damage to the croc. And crocodiles have quite interesting regenerative properties in their skin, so their wounds and stuff heal very, very easily and quickly, and in a lot of African cultures, croc fat and croc oil is very, very highly sought after as a healing thing, to put on scars or wounds to help the healing process. Where I worked in Zambia, croc fat was incredibly expensive. But at the moment, it doesn't look like they're actually going to do too much to each other. Just going to go back and have a look where those croc tracks went. So wait 1 second, we'll get one quick shot of that. There we go. Not something you see every day. Crocodile and a buffalo lying down next to each other. Okay, so here are the crocodile tracks we're talking about that we're going to go have a look at, and you can see the tail dragging where the belly is, where he's put his belly down on the ground. The more interesting thing is where he's come from. He's come from the bush behind us, and I know there's a road there, so we're just going to loop around and get a little bit away from the buffalo. and maybe see if he smelt or found some meat. Or I know there was a leopard around here this morning. Maybe the leopard made a kill and the crocodile went to steal it. So we're just going to have a quick look around there. Okay guys, so while we're going to fiddle around here and try to figure out what happened with those crocodile tracks, we're going to cross back to Scott. He's got a little surprise for you all. So enjoy, and we will see you a bit later.
Welcome back folks, and you wouldn't believe it, but look at the hyena. It's just ahead of us. So we found the hyena, and you can see it's feeding on something. This is not what the monkeys were alarm calling at, however. That's something different, and we'll show you what those monkeys were alarm calling at now.
If I can find it.
Keep zooming. There you can see some spots, folks, within the tree. And there's only one cat with spots that climbs up into the tree, and that is leopard. So we're just going to reposition quickly. Guys, I'm live at the moment, so Mike, could you control the sighting, please? There's just Mike making his way here at the moment. Well, look at this, folks, and what a start. Interestingly enough, last night when we were sitting around camp at about 9 o'clock, we heard a Nyala alarm calling very insistently in this area. Hello, Kunyuma, it must be. So it looks like Kunyuma, a young male. And as I was saying, we did hear alarm calls, but we did come into this area to have a look around, but because it was right in front of the Vuyatela camp, we couldn't investigate closely. We did see two hyena running around. Morning. Let's see if I can get a slightly better angle, because his face is covered just, so I'm just going to reverse ever so slightly. Actually, no, oh, it's a bit better. And we drove just meters past here when we were looking at the elephants. But thanks to the monkeys as well as the hyena, we saw the hyena for the first time from quite far away on the other edge of the clearing. And I did stop to get my binoculars out because I assumed there was a kill in the area, and even from a long way off we could see the hyena looking up into this tree expectingly, and myself and Romeo then knew we were on the money. So very, very fortunate. Maybe it isn't Kunyuma, maybe it is quarantine, but judging by the way he's been hissing at us, it could well be Kunyuma. So it is Kunyuma. And some days he snarls at us, others he doesn't. In all fairness, we are fairly close here, and I'm just going to make some space for him, because it looks like he may want to come down the tree. Bear with us, I know the angles aren't great, but we did need to give him a little bit of space there. He's hot and full bellied and could well want to come down and relax on the ground. I'm thinking of even going back a little bit further, just to give him a the space he needs. We'll still try to keep a bit of a shot on him. But we don't want to see him snarling like that a lot, and in all fairness we were quite close to him, so now he seems to be at ease. Well, what a wonderful afternoon it's been so far. Crazy to think that we've seen buffalo and elephants, now leopard and also hyena, all within a very small distance of one another. Incredible how fortunate we are in this area, and the game viewing really has been few weeks.
So for 3 of 5.
Exactly. Young male in Yala, so apologies, but with the tight angle that looks like a young male in Yala, so apologies, but with the tight angle that we had, Romeo could only get a visual of the leopard while we were there briefly. But there is an Inyala kill, and there's a fair amount of the kill remaining. We will try and get a visual at some stage. But at the moment, it's just difficult for us to maneuver and position ourselves without interfering on his movements. Let me see if I can... You can still hear the monkey's alarm calling, and here comes the hyena. Quick, Romeo. So the hyena did manage to get a small morsel that Kunyuma dropped just moments before we went live. And look at the scratches on her face. Or is that just blood from her feeding now? No, that's just blood from her feeding now. When I say her, it may not be a female. It actually has a stomach more like a male's, it appears. But hard to be certain. They do look very similar, the male and female hyenas. And the hyena just snuck off again. It obviously realized that no more meat had dropped down, and now will continue waiting. And I hope the Djuma waterhole cam can get a shot of this. It's probably a little bit too far, but there is a live camera here that I can see, and it could there's a very slight chance that it could also see a bit of the action here. And isn't it incredible to think how we go out searching far and wide for these animals, and here they are literally on the front doorstep of the lodge. The closest room to this action's probably only 100 meters away, so very close by. I'm just going to maneuver very slightly. And also to all the viewers in the Zumi who found the hyena, which also certainly helped piece this puzzle together. Thanks so much for sending that information through to us. You can now hear more alarm calls, and these are coming from birds called Birchall starlings. I wonder what it is that they've seen, maybe a snake or a mongoose. But the predators certainly are getting up the prey species, getting the prey species wound up here. There's an array of different alarm calls that we're hearing. And clearly my hearing was playing tricks on me a little bit earlier, because the sound that the monkeys were alarm calling from got me a bit discombobulated. Anyway, at least we did manage to find this beautiful specimen. And I'm guessing he was feeding just as we located him, and that's why he has moved off. Now he's had enough to feed on, and that's also why the hyena got lucky. Oh, now this is very interesting. So I thought it was an Inyala because I had a very, very brief glimpse at it. But on second inspection now, it appears like it could be a baboon. And I do indeed think that he has managed to kill a baboon. We will have to confirm. But very interesting behavior from the leopard, because the leopard in this area typically have not hunted baboons, not in my experience. They are known to do it extensively in certain areas, but in the Sabi Sands I've never seen leopard to hunt baboons. So wouldn't that be interesting? It will be my first leopard and baboon kill in the Sabi Sands. Now a lot depends on leopards, specific leopards you are viewing, and there could well be leopards that do hunt baboons in the Sabi Sands, but there's a risk involved in hunting baboons because they themselves have got very large canines, probably larger than that of the leopard, and they've also got the safety of numbers. And a whole troop of baboons ganging up on one leopard could result in a very tricky scenario for the leopard. Jason, is there any way you can you see the carcass dangling there from where you are?
I cannot.
Okay, well then don't stress, we'll try and reposition later.
Oh, I can...
Afternoon guys, how are you doing? Good. So this is what was going on last night, obviously, Mike. It looks like it. I thought it was an Inyala at first, because I've never seen a leopard with a baboon kill in the Sabi Sands. So, but it does. It's just hanging up to the left in there. You've probably got it. You'll probably be able to see quite low down, kind of in line with him, but to the left, 3 meters left. It looks like Kunyuma. It is 100% a baboon. I've just seen one of the paws of it hanging down. So I wonder if it was a member from that same troop of baboons we saw this morning. In all likelihood it is. So they are down a troop member, and it's very interesting. Now I wonder if this is the first baboon he's ever caught. There haven't been a lot of baboons on the property over the last few months, so this may well be his first one, and it'll be very interesting to monitor whether he does not become a specialist in hunting them. Because baboons in the Sabi Sands are so used to confronting leopards, they may have been a bit too bold, and he himself also may have been a bit too bold, but got away with it. As I said, it is a dangerous prey item to hunt because the troop can gang up on him and cause serious damage to him. And maybe that's what they tried to do, but they obviously underestimated this individual, because clearly he doesn't give them as much respect as other leopards in this area may do. Perfect. Perfect. So they were born at exactly the same stage, and do look fairly similar, but there are ways of differentiating them by looking closely at their spot patterns. I haven't done that yet and have been merely going on the fact that he's been snarling at us quite profusely. Quarantine typically does not snarl at us, and Kunyuma, depending on his mood, does. So that's all I've been going on, but out here we never know what to expect, and it could well be quarantine that is snarling today. You can hopefully hear a go-away bird calling now. Listen carefully. Now it's gone silent, but keep listening. The noise you can hear of the monkeys, they're still shouting. And the is the go-away bird, which I think you would have been able to hear faintly.
Here he comes. Looks like he's coming down the tree.
Or maybe just repositioning. Just got a question through from Blair in Canada. Afternoon, Blair, and welcome along. Blair is interested to know whether leopards will ever jump out of trees directly onto their prey. And yes, they certainly will, Blair. And they've actually been... Now you can hear the monkey's alarm calling more intensely because he's repositioned and is obviously more visible to them. So that's why they've increased their alarms. But back to Blair's question, yes. And even from the height where he's sitting now, down to the ground, is not an issue at all. I've seen footage. Now you'll get an idea of how high he is off the ground as Jason zooms out. Now I've seen footage of a leopard jumping twice this height out of a tree down onto an impala. So they do jump down from very, very high points, and it's an opportunity that they would be silly to take up. They occasionally do get very lucky, and while sleeping up a tree, especially a tree that's in fruit or dropping tasty leaves, a lot of antelope may come below this tree to feed on the fruits or the leaves, allowing the leopard an easy opportunity to simply fall down on top of them. Good question though, and that would be something wonderful to see. I've never seen it, only footage thereof. But hopefully one day we'll get lucky. I wonder if it's worth us repositioning somehow. I want to try and get you an angle on the baboon. So that's going to require us to go a little way off. Mike, I'm just going to try and get an angle on the baboon from up on this little bank there. Well, as we go past, we may as well stop and show you what else is going on very nearby. So, a lot of buffalo casually enjoying their afternoon lying up, as well as a few elephants. These are from a different herd to what we saw earlier. So nice and busy here at the dam, and I'm sure the Zoomy is having a great time this afternoon, whoever it may be. go. That's what happens when you don't look where you're driving. The stump jumped out in the way there. Well, I don't know if this little plan's going to work, but it is an option to try to show you the baboon without interfering with Kunyuma's afternoon doze too much.
Lighting is going to be very tricky.
We are going to have a good angle of it from here. Are you going to be able to do anything with that, Jason?
I don't know. Where is it?
It's directly in front of us. Directly in front of us, you can see it dangling down there.
Negative.
I'll just zoom you in. Zoom straight in. You slap bang on the middle, a little bit left, a little bit left, a little bit higher. Focus. And that's it.
What can I do? Bad.
That's difficult with the light, but you can potentially make out what's going on there. It's not easy at all, but you can see the very long fur though, and that might be the main thing that tells us that it's a baboon, the long fur. Very difficult with the lighting though. So we'll have to try and get you another angle, but I can assure you it is a baboon. And we will now that we've done that. Get back into a spot where we've got a better view of the leopard. Just got a question through from Julie on Twitter, and Julie's interested to know what kind of a tree is he in. And he's in a jackalberry tree, which is also one of their favorites out here for sleeping in and also for hoisting kills into. It's also known as an ebony tree.
Diospirus nespliformis.
And Jason's just let you know the scientific name, and Jason really does love his trees. And he's quite a specialist on them. And if you didn't hear him clearly, it was Diospirus nespliformis, if any of you are interested in knowing the Latin name. Leopards up them as much, but I also think that the marula is typically more of a comfortable tree. The horizontal branches are perfectly horizontal and often very thick, although if you look at him now, it doesn't seem like he could get much more comfortable. Well, there's a room behind us where guests could be sitting on their deck watching this leopard, and there are guests staying here in this room at the moment, so they hopefully will be able to enjoy it tomorrow morning. There still seems like a fair amount of meat on the kill, but hard to say how quickly he'll eat it, and it also depends on how much he drops down to the hyena below. it's still playing on my mind how close we drove to him in this tree when we came down to view these elephants, and didn't have a clue he was here. And it just goes to show how lucky we have to be to find these animals, and also how much we need to tune into the other sounds and noises around us. If it wasn't for those monkeys and also the hyena, we would have had no chance in finding this animal. Well, folks, we've had such a great view of him so far, and what I think we'll do is we're going to make space. There are a lot of other vehicles that are interested in coming to have a look at him, and then we'll rejoin the sighting a little bit later, hopefully when he starts to feed again. So we certainly will come back, but for now let's try and share this with everybody, and we will head off. And there's so much other action around, and I'm thinking of possibly even heading to the hyena den sites. That's an option. We haven't been there for a few days, and we'll come back here a little bit later, or who knows, maybe even Brent can come and have a look. He can get his leopard fix a little bit later potentially. We will continue now and see what happens. Cheers everyone, enjoy. Nice to see you again, welcome back, so well. Cool. Copy, perfect. Thanks guys, I'll be leaving Mike and Johan with Kunyuma, and first time Mike can make their way. What a start, and I'm just so happy. There's nothing better than finding a leopard, and we were the lucky ones to do it today. It doesn't happen every day, and a lot of the leopards we do see are often found by other people, so such a rush when we get to do it ourselves. Brent for Scott. Brent, how are you doing? Just wondering where you are. Okay, copy, perfect. I've left the Kunyuma and I'm going to head to the hyena den site, so we'll just see who's around later and either one of us can go back there. Just turned down my imaginary road on the left. It was a dead end. Certainly not a multitasker, so talking on the radio and driving at the same time doesn't often work out as well as it should. So like I said, I'm going to continue onto the hyena den site now and see what's going on there. And Brent's still snooping around Buffelshoek Dam and hasn't given up on trying to track down a leopard in that area, and I'm sure we'll be cutting across to him shortly to get an update. Okay folks, well, Brent is back on the vehicle and ready for an update, so we'll catch up with you a little bit later.
Welcome back, guys. We haven't actually gone very far. We're still checking around Buffalo's Hook area to see if we can find any other tracks. I think this will be our last little loop around here, and then we're gonna maybe head down towards Twin Dam area. But we're gonna go. We'll check if there's been an update on the crocodile and the buffalo situation shortly. So we're approaching the dam again. Sorry, I just thought I heard something there, guys. Good afternoon, Gail. Welcome on Drive with us this afternoon. Gail would like to know, why does the crocodile lie with its mouth open? Well, hopefully he's doing it now so we can have a closer look. Oh dear. Crocodile has gone into the water. You can see the tracks going into the water there. Gail, the reason a crocodile will quite often be seen with its mouth open, lying like that, is to cool itself down. It's one of the ways that it regulates its temperature. So there's a lot of blood vessels on the tongue of a crocodile. A lot of people seem to think a crocodile doesn't have a tongue. There's the crocodile in the water just behind the buffalo. A lot of people seem to think crocodiles don't have a tongue. They do, but it's very attached to their bottom jaw. It's not sort of loose like our tongues. And there's a lot of blood vessels in there, so they'll open their mouths to get wind over the tongue to cool their blood. It looks like all is quiet at Buffalo's Hook. Sleeping buffaloes and sleeping hippos. afternoon, Jeffrey from Texas. Jeffrey would like to know, why would the crocodile like to sit so close to the buffalo? Could there be a reason? I don't think so, Jeffrey. I just think they just happen to be in that same space. There's no particular reason for either of them to be close to each other. They don't really pose each other a threat to each other. After we saw that interaction there, I just think they happen to be sharing that space. The buffalo like being around the water, and the crocodile obviously needs the water to survive. So I just think they happen to be in the same area at the same time. There's no particular reason, just because. So picked up a stick, but as much as I like Buffelshoek Dam, I'm quite happy to be away from it and the flies. So you guys told me you'd been preparing for the next trivia quiz. I hope so. I'm trying to find something to ask you a question about. I think there's one coming up shortly. Let's see who remembers and who was listening to me. Where is this now? So I know I've asked you guys this one a few times. So we're going to see who remembers what tree this is. Remember to look at the seeds as one of the distinctive things in the name. Remember to send your answers to questions@WildEarthTV, or just use the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter.
He will come through, the other thing will be fine in a short while. But it's not bad timing to be on board with myself and Romeo, because we are heading to the hyena den site, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, and haven't been there for a few days, so really hope that it's active. It may not be active. Sometimes we get there and there's nobody home. But it's the right time of the afternoon to be arriving. I feel it's nice and cool, and I feel the adults may have returned to the den. They often leave during the heat of the day so that they can rest and relax without the cubs bothering them. Anyway, we're just a few minutes away, so we'll wait and see what's going on there. But it really is a magical afternoon, and this is one of my favorite times of the day, the kind of last hour of sunlight, and that's just about where we are now, probably 1 hour left of sunlight, and it really does cool down when the sun does get low on the eastern horizon. And that is one of my favorite trees that Romeo did a great job of panning across to as we drove by. It's called the torchwood tree, and it's an abnormally magnificent specimen. Quite a nice viewpoint that we may stop at here, just to give an idea of the scenery and surroundings, and what a vista this is. We are so fortunate to be in this part of the world. It really is spectacular, and not only is the game viewing spectacular, but so is the scenery. And And somewhere in the bush just below the center of the shot now is the hyena den site where we're going to be heading to. Another thing I love about this time of the year is the contrast of colors that we get. A lot of golden orange browns that start coming through as the trees begin to dry out. Not all of them will though, so we will still have some greenery from the evergreens. And you can still see them in and amongst the trees that are wilting. Well, what an afternoon it's been so far. We couldn't ask for anything more other than the hyena den site to be active and for Brent to find a leopard at Buffelshoek Dam. But failing that, we've already had such a good afternoon that we would be greedy to expect anything more from it. That's not to say we're going to pack up early and go home. We will certainly keep trying and make the most of our good fortune. It's not every afternoon or every drive that we do get spoiled with great sightings, so when the going's good, it certainly is worth cashing in on it. Well, our fortune seems to have temporarily run out, and I'll stop here and Jason will be able to show you the entrance to the den site, which is empty. There's nobody home, but it sounds like Brent's found some action where he is, so this is a perfect opportunity to cut back to him and see what he's found. And myself and Jason will probably wait here for about 15 or 20 minutes to see if anything pops up.
Welcome back, guys. Remember, we tried to get a good view of one of these guys this morning, those of you who are on drive with us this morning, and we didn't, but now we've managed to find one a little bit more out in the open. There's quite a few of them around. We can go for it. I'll see if I can remember all the names. I framed just 2 names. Susanna, Jessica, Heidi, Jilly, Margaret, Natalie, Jeannie, Katrina, Alex, Virginia, Rita, Donna. Well done, guys, you all got it right. It was a russet bush willow. So obviously some of you are listening. Very well done, guys. Oh, he's sneaking around here. There's a little crested francolin, I think. No, I don't know if you're going to be able to see him from there, Ben. Oh, you've got one, in a different one. Yeah. There's a couple little crested francolins fiddling around in this raisin bush here. Oh, there's another one. There we go. Well, we're just going to meander on. afternoon light is becoming spectacular. A little bit far. You see me? So, next question for you guys. Which bird is that? Let's see who's going to get it right. Remember to send your answers to questions@WildEarthTV or just use the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. We'll try to get a bit... Oh, no, there it goes. Well, let's move up a bit there. Good afternoon, Jean from North Carolina. Jean would like to know if we have skunks or any other type of animal that resemble skunks in Africa. Let's find the pictures for you guys. That is correct. Not that one. Here we go, guys. So our closest things to skunks we've got a striped polecat and a striped weasel. Even though honey badgers and civets also have anal glands that they can secrete from, but our closest thing to a skunk is a striped polecat. Very, very seldom seen. I think I've only ever seen 4, and 3 of them in one day. They prefer grasslands to the bush, but they do occur here, but just not in very high numbers. Tina, Jilly, Charlie, Bren, Rita, Brandy, All got it right. An African grey hornbill. Well done. I think I'm going to have to start giving you guys harder questions. So you guys know I like to be tricky from time to time. So here's a question for you. What is the largest mammal that occurs in Africa? What is the largest mammal that occurs in Africa? Now let's see who's thinking like I'm thinking. Come down cheetah, cut line, Gary Main, and then up the drainage line. Copy, thanks. Donna's on the right track, but I want to know which one. Which one? Donna, you're on the right track, but which one? Negative. I'd say terrestrial would have been the elephant. Good afternoon, James. So was that Scott? Copy. It's fine, I'll get hold of him when game's out. Scott. Did you do Gowrie Main this morning towards the Molwati? And confirm you had no. Did you have any Ingwe Nkonzo? Mafazi Ingwe Nkonzo, looks like. Just to the east of Edward. Okay, copy, thanks. Stations, trucks, Ingwe heading west on Gowrie Main, junction Edward, Gowrie Main. So guys, we just found some leopard tracks, but it's on one of the main access roads, so they do get driven over quite often. But we will check very carefully. Just down by Tunis.